James Rolfe, better known on YouTube as the Angry Video Game Nerd, or back then, the Angry Nintendo Nerd. What hasn't been said about him? To some, he is what most considered the first video game reviewer on YouTube. From almost 200 episodes of his series, cameos galore, and even a movie back in 2014, he is by far one of the most recognizable original YouTubers. So, how does one celebrate not only the nerd, but also the dedicated fanbase that has been growing since 2006 on YouTube? Well, how about a full-ass game, as well as a sequel, and then remaster those games with an added chapter? Enjoy the show. Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new review. Well, I guess you could call this a double review, because for this review I'm taking a look at Angry Video Game Nerd 1 and 2 Deluxe. AVGN 1 and 2 Deluxe are action platform games developed and most likely published by FreakZone Games and was released for PlayStation 4 and Xbox One as well as the Switch in October of 2020. It's meant to be a way of celebrating both James Rolfe's character, the Angry Video Game Nerd, as well as a thank you gift to the fans of both the characters and the series as a whole. So, here's the question. Is this game any good? And is this something I can recommend to you? Well, let's find out. Let's start with AVGN Adventures. Now, Adventure's plot opens up with the nerd and his friends, consisting of the bullshit man, Kyle Justin, or the guitar guy behind the couch, and Mike Matei, or Motherfucker Mike as he's called in Board James. Suddenly, everyone gets sucked into the TV with the nerd getting grabbed by the balls. Now, the main goal is to get out of this worthless, miserable shitload of fuck of a video game called Gameland. There are a total of 8 of these fucking pieces of cum chowder, all created by the reoccurring character known as Fred Fucks, who was actually pictured as the lead programmer of Adventures, but later changed to Gilbert Gottfried. Yeah, Gilbert Gottfried. You know, the I go from Aladdin. Anyways, we kill Fox and the nerd and co are freed from the shitty game, only to go back and play it, ending AVGN Adventures. So plot-wise, it's incredibly simple. But then again, I do see what they were going for here, since both this and AVGN 2 were supposed to mimic the NES games of old. So, yeah, plot-wise, it's actually pretty good. But now, let's discuss the gameplay. Gameplay of Adventures at first has us in control of the nerd, and the name of the game is run side to side, shoot, jump, and die. Later, if you're thorough with the game, you can control the other 3 characters, much like with the partner mechanic in Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse, or the Bloodstained Curse of the Moon duology. For the other characters, we have the guitar guy who can shoot through walls, the bullshit man who is slow as shit but has a double jump, and Motherfucker Mike who has a lightsaber? I'm sorry, but does Mike actually use a lightsaber in any of the Board James episodes? Hold on. Let me just binge this real quick. No, he does not. But if Mike Matei himself is a big Star Wars fan, then I can see the connection. He also has a secret vision ability, and his lightsaber can also break the hidden block that you expect from the old school Castlevania games. Now, there are also tons of cameos from different YouTubers and a reoccurring character in the AVGN series, such as Angry Joe, Gerard Khalil aka the Completionist, Wiz and Boomstick from Death Battle, and of course, Ship Pickle. Visually, this looks amazing. Now, unlike AVGN 2 Assimilation, Adventure was remade from the ground up in the Unity engine, since originally, Adventure used the Game Maker engine, and in all honesty, I definitely love the remaster version more. OST, I love it. I absolutely enjoy it. My personal favorite of which is Future Fuckballs 2010's track. And it, like I said, it's honestly my favorite out of the bunch. But I also got handed to the title theme for managing to recreate the AVGN theme itself. Now, let's recap. I think the story is pretty good. Gameplay, while hard as a fossilized dino shit, is actually pretty good. Visually, it's incredibly remarkable, and OST is actually pretty great. So here are my final thoughts. Overall, AVGN Adventures is definitely a pretty great game, though the only downside is that I feel like it's mostly catered to the fans of the nerd and the series as a whole. Though, if you still want to have a tough-as-nails game that won't throw any punches like you're playing the American version of Castlevania 3 or playing Zelda 2, then play this. So overall, AVGN Adventures gets my score of a 9 out of 10. We're not quite out of the woods yet because we have AVGN 2 Assimilation. Now, Assimilation's plot has us back in the loafers of the nerd when suddenly a giant fucking beam came on Earth and turned the planet into a shitty game. Who's the motherfucker behind this? Well, if you were to play the original version, it was the Nostalgia Critic. But in Deluxe, it was Fred Fox again. Now, we have to traverse through 5 more worlds before taking down Fox again. Or not, since his corrupted computer called the Fuckotron 9000 ended up killing him, so now we have this to deal with. Now, in the original version, it was Death Moth 6 from the movie. Anyways, we killed the Fuckotron, and if you were to get all the nerd stuff, you get the good ending. But if you didn't, the nerd basically tells you, "Hey asshole, get your fucking ass back into a shitload of fucks and find my fucking shit, asshole." But anyways, that was the plot of Assimilation, and much like the first, it's incredibly simplistic. So that means we could just move on right into the gameplay. So gameplay of Assimilation mainly has us back in the shoes of the nerd, and the name of the game is basically the same. Now, unlike Adventures, there aren't any extra playable characters, which is fine. I didn't hate the extra playable characters in Adventure, I just think their gameplay styles outside of the guitar guy aren't that useful. Anyways, instead we get upgrades to the nerd, which are all of the various Nintendo accessories he is seen wearing whenever a big fight happens. We have the Power Glove, the Konami Laser Scope, the Turbo Pad, the NES Power Pad, and the SNES Super Scope. So overall, gameplay is still challenging like Adventures, but I think they could have made the nerd stuff more reachable and not require the Power Glove that often. Visually, oh my fucking death Christ, this is amazing. Now, this was actually made from the grounds up using Unity, and oh good god, I love it. The colors are vibrant, bosses look awesome, character sprites look amazing, and the illustrations, which were all done by Mike Matei, are amazing to look at. OST, it's also a pleasure to listen to, though I can't list a specific track from this game's OST. I still consider this a pretty good OST overall though. Now, let's recap. I think the story is pretty good, gameplay to me is the best out of this package, visually it's a step up, and OST is also pretty great. So here are my final thoughts. Overall, out of the two games in this package, Assimilation is definitely what I consider my favorite out of the two. From improved gameplay, amazing visuals, and a pretty good OST, I can definitely say this is a definite step up from Adventures. So overall, AVGN Assimilation gets my score of a perfect 10 out of 10. But now, I want to know from you all. Hold on, I'm getting a call. Yeah? Uh-huh. Oh. Oh. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, fuck you too. Okay, so apparently I'm not quite done yet because we have the Tower of Torment to cover, which is only exclusive to the Deluxe version. So Tower of Torment is the third and last chapter of this Deluxe re-release, where it assumes you got all of the nerd's gear and traverse through 3 stages plus a final boss. So it's not as long as both games, but it's supposed to be incredibly challenging, so I can see why with the lack of many stages. But anyways, we get to the final boss and it's the fucking rabbit, which is actually a parody of Bugs Bunny. We kill him, go to hell where Satan tells us to finish him as if we're in Mortal Kombat, and after killing the rabbit, Satan tells us that we're basically stranded in hell, which is possibly the setup for AVGN 3. Get the fuck out of hell! So yeah, that's it for the plot. This is by far the most shortest plot synopsis out of these 3 games, but it's supposed to be like a mini bonus challenge, so I can see why with the short plot. But now, it's gameplay time. Okay, so I'm going to keep both gameplay and visuals brief. Gameplay is basically the same from Assimilation since the nerd is packing the Nintendo gear we got, so yeah, gameplay is basically the same. Visually, it's on par with Assimilation as well, so nothing really new to say. Now OST, I'm going to be honest, I think the OST isn't that memorable as opposed to Adventures or Assimilation. Now, let's recap. The story is incredibly more simplistic than the previous 2 games, which is that in itself is an accomplishment. Gameplay and visuals are the same and on par with AVGN 2, and OST really isn't that memorable. So here are my final thoughts. Overall, for a mini bonus challenge after beating the 2 games, Tower of Torment is certainly a challenge. From the first stage, kicking your balls to no end, basically, from the obnoxious enemy placement, bullshit instant kills, and the fucking rabbit, only tackle this if you're truly nerd enough. So, overall, the Tower of Torment gets my score of an 8 out of 10. And overall, AVGN 1 and 2 Deluxe gets my overall score of a 9.5 out of 10. But now, I want to know from you all. Did you play AVGN 1 and 2 Deluxe? What did you think of it? And is this something you would recommend to a friend? Leave your answers and more down in the comments. Give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and while you're here, consider subscribing and turn on the bell to be notified whenever I make a new video. As always, my social media links are down below. I've been Horror Kid, and I will see you all in the next video. Take care, everybody.